Welcome back to the desk here on the first day of the playing stage of the European Masters. Joining me is Ibriz, who's not really in the middle. Are you more of a bot side player? Oh, there you shifted into the mid lane. There you go. I wanted to briefly talk about the game we just saw. We saw Vipers going down into Isuba, which I thought was actually pretty close when we dove into the mid late game there.
Yeah, it actually looked really questionable for the first 20 minutes for the Vipers, of course, and then they started hitting their mid to late game stride that we had, said that was their comfort zone. That was where they come online. Hidan even got his comfort pick of the Nunu, and the thing about not only Vipers there, with the later stages being their comfort, it's the fact that you have Yezhki just consistently being Smurf in the lane phase and then not having a good time come.
Yeah, I do wonder though, because Vipers pick up the Aphelios in a first pick, but then they leave open the Jarvan. It's something we've been seeing in the Benelux region as well, but it's something we see going on over and over. And like even after the second Ben rotation, Jarvan is still open. Like these are mistakes you can't really make on this level, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that there was a significant degree of oversight in the draft phase there. You not only gave Hidan his comfort pick, to be fair, they did shut it down really remarkably well from the side of Isuba, but also, yeah, you're criticizing Viper's drafts, and I think that is rightly so, just because they allowed the mid-game team to get mid-game comps, like early to mid-game team to get a mid-game comp that would just roll over them for the first 20 minutes.
So the Jarvan goes through, ends up on Jakey, and I do want to praise him though, because his early game it's like perfect, like denying the Nunu his blue and his Braum, denying him the XP, denying him the gold, but more importantly, denying his tempo there. That is very important for the game.
Yeah, the thing about Yezhki on the J4 is that typically you see him make super cool plays, just forcing not only flashes, but often he has an insane conversion rate on ganks and kills. And then the fact that you have a super hype mid laner and random being on a utility pick like the Ornn, and yet Yezhki still manages to stand out, really promising from an Isuba lineup that we had next to no expectations for heading into this event.
Yeah, Isuba finally takes the win, but it wasn't that easy as they hoped it would be. Yeah, that's everything I wanted to say about that game. I more want to focus now on Sector 1 versus K1ck, because we have been seeing an upset already for K1ck Neosurf.
Yeah, definitely not the start to the tournament that they thought, dropping to WLG, the Greek representatives, but that's also the same storyline that I've been running through in my prep for Sector 1 as well, because K1ck are not an early game centric team. If you play through topside, if you make them play at your breakneck fast pace that some of these not lower tier but more kind of wild card teams really like to play at, they fall flat on their faces trying to keep up to you.
Yeah, but we've seen K1ck here also suffer from this in the finals in the Ultra Liga, where they lost from Rogue, where they won in the semifinals. Due to the gauntlet structure, they've fallen to them 3-0, and it seems like their bad luck is transferred into something in the playoffs, over in the play-ins here at EU Masters. And I just want to keep it short though, because what do we expect actually from this game?
So given the fact that we've seen K1ck be unable to match some of these faster paced teams in their stride, you look at Sector 1, you look at them in the finals when they looked to be behind at 5 minutes, then just turned on the kill switch.
Yeah, I think we can keep on talking about this, but I think we have our draft already going, so we're gonna head on over to the pick and let's go into the casters.
Thank you very much there, Koolein and Ibriz. And we're going to be going into a champ select shortly between K1ck and Sector 1. But first, my heart goes out to Sector 1. But the one thing closer to my heart than my Benelux teams is my lovely co-caster here. We've been apart for a long time, but we're finally back together. It's course Dan AuxCasts Harrison, the Smurf of the UKLC in the Nordic regions.
I've missed you so much, man. It's been way too long. Back in the day when you were casting UK with me, we've got a pretty spicy game coming up here to sort of share our love over.
Ooh. And we have seen K1ck actually off-stream drop again against We Love Gaming, the team that Sector 1 not necessarily cleanly, but did find a win against eventually. And considering ck.'s position coming into the tournament, that's quite surprising.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were certainly looking at Mad Lions and Gamers Legion to be the front runners to get out of play-ins, but ck.'k were definitely up there as being the third team they expected. And to drop a game to We Love Gaming is a pretty big upset, like, by all means. And if they drop this one against Sector 1, they could actually be precariously close to having to make a good run in their second round robin or just going out of play-ins. Sector 1 now 2-0, so it would be a 3-0 first round robin performance and then get this one, but we've rattled through some bans very quickly. Caitlyn Ezreal, again, banned away from practice. We've seen the Syndra taken off the cards as well, and then Gragas, Zoe, Rumble denied from ck.k.
And the focus on Praxis, the bot lane carry for Sector 1, remains in place here. Sector 1 currently 17-0 in competitive gameplay, so if they can win this one as well, they'll keep that streak going as we see the first pick of Aphelios. And this is a pick that we've talked about for a little bit. I feel like at EUM thus far, it hasn't been as high prior as I feel like it should be. It's the Kalista with a Elise follow-up here for dibu.
Yeah, at least a little bit interesting. Offers that early pressure, though, a lot of strength. And with Gragas taken off the table, still a powerful pick that offers AP in the jungle. But I think the Kalista is an interesting one because I expect to see that one super high in priority, which Sector 1 are reflecting. As much as Aphelios, it has been nerfed a fair amount, so I expect to see less. We just saw it dominate last game from Devroxne despite the loss. And the follow-up's going to be the Nautilus. Does well into Kalista because obviously that ult isn't able to be kited away from. And then you can obviously offer the follow-up, and Shlatan's going to get Elise in, so not revealing too much from the composition for ck.k so far, just a lot of strength, but already Sector 1 have a ton of early power.
Oh boy, then we see the hover and it actually comes through. It's a blind pick Wukong, and we've already talked about how strong this pick is. Did make it here through the draft, so tell me, what is the monkey madness that we've seen come back after his rework?
I mean, it's just, you can ult twice. It's enough set. Yeah. That alone, ignore everything else. Even if he does 0 damage, you can ult twice. It's just broken. But ultimately, the champion does a lot of sustained damage now, a bit more bruisery, rather than the sort of, you've seen those bursty Wukongs in your game that when they're fed, just 100-0 you. But it's less of that, more if he is very much a bruiser that is hard to deal with. A lot of CC, a lot of mobility, and a lot of invisibility to play around with now. We do see this set banned away, and then the Thresh taken off the cards to not pair up with the Kalista. But I mean, already I feel like
a Renekton ban. It's glitched, but it is the Renekton, so 2 top lane picks, presumably to make sure that this Wukong can not get murdered. Whereas we see ck.k ban away 2 strong supports.
I mean, again, the Wukong could be flexed. We could see it go mid lane, the Kalista go top. We could see a lot of variation. There's still a lot of flexibility here for Sector 1, other than this Elise. Looks like they're toying with the idea of the Braum, and they will lock that one in. But as you're saying about the Renekton set, I really like those bans there because they pick the Wukong just before the ban phase. They can then get rid of difficult matchups. And now Ibo has to find something that he expects that he'll be able to match up into the Wukong with. We do think it's probably a Kalista bot and a Wukong top lane, but still is a bit up in the air, and we have to remain and see.
Imagine if we see the Kalista go top lane, and then it binds the mid lane Wukong. And then now we get like and
then Wukong just comes top at level 6. Yeah. And it's just like game is over.
Like, no, not going to play the game. But that will be a very, very off the wall here for Sector 1. Doesn't look like that's going to be the case. And knowing them, they do like to give a knight a last pick here. Now, the Azir been picked up. We've talked about it already a lot on the broadcast here. It is a pick that has resurfaced. It spikes very strong, starting from 2 items onwards. And the Maokai is an interesting one. He's also a pick that's been growing in priority, leaving Sector 1 to get the last pick here.
I mean, this is a situation where you're up against either a Kalista or a Wukong. Those are the 2 picks left that could flex in a top lane. You're like, you're not winning lane. You're just not winning lane. Potentially against the Wukong, maybe you'd have a chance, but I think just taking the Maokai, you're going to be useful later. And we expect ck.k to go for more of a scaling composition that sort of functions well in the later stages, especially Matislaw and the Azir is very stylistically something that suits him. So now they have this great front-to-back teamfight composition, 2 great backliners, a lot of frontline, a lot of CC. But my concern is on the other side, the early skirmish and the early pressure from Sector 1 that they do love is going to be afforded to them. And it's not like they just fall off a cliff in the late game. Ziggs still very relevant. Wukong can still make that impact. And we have seen our drafts in front of us.
I think even the Kalista pick that many people would agree like falls off. We've seen teams like T1 Taddy specifically even favoring late game team fights just because of how good the champ is if it doesn't get locked down. Like if you can stay away from the CC, you can end the kite around. But as you were saying, I feel like in a straight up VAR scenario, K1ck should definitely have the edge. But Sector 1 is a team that's kind of reinvented themselves over the last Benelux season. They used to be a team that played around midnight, the mid laner, and played a slow approach. But I'm seeing Wukong, who spikes very hard as soon as he has his ultimate. I see Ziggs with satchel charge, and I see a Kalista Elise. Sector 1 expected to take full priority here in the early game.
Yeah, and I think even into the mid game, I think it's only when it goes late, and it's only if Aphelios and Azir can find space. Because if they're threatened, if the Wukong's on top of them and they get follow-up for the Mega Inferno Bomb, it doesn't matter how late the game goes. If your backline dies, you don't have the damage.
That's not a fun combo, Dan.
No, it isn't.
Like second Wukong ult and Mega Inferno Bomb.
Yeah.
That's what do you do against that as Aphelios?
I
you
mean,
have Nautilus. You don't have Kench.
You need great vision control. You need great vision control. You need to play at a safe distance. And that's the thing. If Sector 1 botch the dives in the late game, their composition will just fall apart. Because if Aphelios and Azir gets a bit of damage off in those later stages, they'll just cut through you. But that's a big if. And also the fact is that we're likely going to expect to see Sector 1 coming into the mid to late game with a gold lead. Because their composition so strong at skirmishing. Elise obviously good at just shutting someone out of a fight with the burst damage and also the CC from the Cocoon. We have the Braum Kalista, extremely strong because you stack up the concussive blows and the Ren stack. So in these skirmishes, these smaller fights, Sector 1 have a huge advantage, and it's very much going to be them trying to set the pace of this game.
So we've seen the draft. K1ck, of course, currently lost their game. I did win against Pig, if I'm not mistaken. Pig currently the trailing behind in the group. Whereas Sector 1 currently at the top of the group, not something a lot of people expect. And if they get this win, they will cement a 3-0 record on the first day, which for Benelux standards is as good as we could hope to have happened.
I mean, it'd be a huge achievement, especially beating out K1ck, who, I mean, typically the Ultra Liga has performed well in EU Masters. A lot of people felt they kind of got hurt by receiving a lower seeding than the likes of France and UK. Obviously, those two regions don't have any playing teams. They got 2 group stage spots. And I think it's a couple of inconsistencies for the Polish squads when they get later in the tournament. But this early, you don't typically expect them to sort of falter. Now, we have seen it. Rogue in group stages did struggle in, I believe, spring last year. But it's still a bit unprecedented. So Sector 1 winning this would be huge. But again, if they do drop this game, it gives a big opportunity for sort of K1ck to sort of claw back the deficit that they've been given.
Yeah, don't forget, this is a double round robin. So even if K1ck lose, even if Sector 1 do win here, nothing is set in stone yet. You need to perform not only tonight, but also tomorrow when the second day of round robin comes through. We have both junglers starting on top side here, understandably, if you're looking at the Kalista Braum lane. And we see practice going for the lethal tempo here with the Braum. Would you have rather seen Halo Blades? Or do you feel like the Q-Max Pierce with lethal tempo is a bit safer here?
But you said Braum? Do you mean Azir? Oh, you mean, sorry,
no,
the Kalista.
Yeah.
Right, okay, yeah. It seems a bit weird to me. I guess in the longer fights, it's going to be more favorable. But personally, I'm a big fan of the Halo Blades, especially with the Braum, because you can very quickly stack up passive. But maybe the game plan is that you're going up against a Maokai, a Nautilus, a strong front line. You want the sort of the longer period of attack speed, because obviously Halo Blades is only 3 attacks, where you can get a pretty long period out of the lethal tempo. May well just be a preference thing, maybe sort of something he assessed based on what he's going to be doing in team fights, because for him, his job isn't really going to be hitting Puki style and Matislaw, it's just cutting through this front line. But either way, definitely a variation you can see. Now, dibu's heading towards the bot lane here, and he hasn't been spotted on a ward. Ward thrown down in the tri-brush, and he is aware of that. They know there's a ward there, so he can very easily circumvent it, and I think Sector 1 will look for an engage pretty shortly.
Saviour, as the summoners available, goes forward, immediately uses the exhaust there on Puki style, gets taken low, but no crucial damage yet. Yoke in action, Cocoon does come out, has to be flashed, but just Raxxo's. Puki style gets away without really using anything, and it's a summoner trade, with of course the flash being slightly more valuable there.
Yeah, it's a trade up in summoners for Sector 1, but it's a lot invested by the Elise to get that, and K1ck bot lane played it well to sort of mitigate the losses in that scenario. Now, dibu's just going to take that bot side scuttle, and I expect to see a lot of play towards this side of the map, at least in the early stages. You have that skirmishing power of the Kalista and the Braum, And essentially, mid lane is going to be pretty farm intensive. Top lane as well. You expect the Wukong just to find advantages there. If you can snowball this bot lane, though, it really sets up Sector 1 well to go later in this game.
Yeah, because if the Kalista finds early game leads, mid game leads, gets a quick Blade of the Ruined King. As we see dibu make a move here, then it gets a lot easier. Azir now needs to be careful. But Matislaw just paths towards his top side and is fine. Whereas Raxxo, don't have flash anymore, need to be careful, gets rendered. And he doesn't die. Look at how close they are to turret range here, but just fine. Gravitum does find an auto, but Puki style not really able to get something there. Exhaust have to be used. And this Kalista lane doing what is expected of it.
Absolutely is. Now, dibu actually uses the Scrying Bloom behind him to try and clear out, check if he's been spotted on this path down. He hasn't, so he will just clear out that ward that was about to fade, and they're applying pressure, and as much as they won't get a kill here on a Puki style, they will get plates, and this is the end result. This Kalista Braum extremely powerful. Like I said, you land the concussive blows, you start stacking those rends. It really sort of makes things very difficult to win extended fights, and Puki style was forced to use that exhaust to stay safe. Now, we could potentially see a dive in the top side from Ibriz and Shlatan to punish Phoenix here. But Wukong can be a little bit tricky in these dives, the mobility. He is getting chunked out though, so I think they could capitalize on this.
Also, teleport used here by Ibo for this play, presumably. If Phoenix is not careful, if he doesn't get some nice clone jukes off, he's going to be in heap of trouble. There, the turret hits the wave. They are going to go for it. Phoenix waits for a very long time. He's able to stay alive for a little bit longer, but that's going to be a flash there from Shlatan. They find the kill, and that's going to be Elise picking up first blood.
Yeah, Phoenix trying to play a little bit of a game there by just standing still to feign that he already used his clone, but ultimately there was very little you can do against a point-and-click CC for the Maokai, and the damage from the Lee Sin at that low HP. So good dive from K1ck. They actually trade up in terms of kills in that scenario, and as much as we saw a lot of farm denied from Puki style, if you actually take note, he's still pretty close in farm. He's not too far behind, so the end result is, despite Sector 1 putting so much attention, bot really hasn't paid off too massively.
And in the 1v1, Phoenix is not something we're used to seeing him from in the Bandlux leagues, but of course at the UM the level will be a lot higher. Currently trailing down in CS. Of course, getting dove there kind of makes it a bit awkward. Already used his teleport as well earlier on. And if we look at the bot lane, now we're starting to see practice, but get on a third and bigger CS lead. Now there is a big wave here, but look, Pixel has gone for double Dorans, meaning that his item spikes will be delayed even as he picks up this wave here. We see Sector 1 move towards this Cloud Dragon.
Yeah, and obviously, when your composition does spike earlier, the more dragons you can stack up, you can set that Dragon Soul as a sort of win condition that K1ck have to contest maybe sooner than they would otherwise like to. So an early dragon could be a factor, but for now, dibu's still looking, but he will be caught out.
Needs to be careful as he gets approached by Shlatan, who comes to him. Matislaw also there, has Empress Divide, but I really want to go for it as a Phoenix here. You're at a level disadvantage. He does have the ultimate available now. Sector 1 is moving towards the Drake here. Not sure if they actually want to do it, and they don't seem certain either. Shlatan has gone bot side, but Sector 1 doesn't know that.
Yeah, they're not aware of the situation, although they have a ward, so they will spot him out now. dibu just trying to establish vision control around the mid lane, potentially be a threat to Matislaw. Matislaw not running the cleanse. I don't think it's necessarily needed here. They do sometimes see it up against the likes of an Elise just to mitigate the ganking pressure, but confident in his skills on the Azir. Now, bot lane river control is in favor of Sector 1, but we do see dibu pathing towards the top side, pick up his red buff and some more camps. A slow dragon, in all honesty, I think is a big thing, because it spawns at 5 minutes. We sometimes see teams prioritizing it as early as that or a little bit after. We're at 7.5 minutes, and dibu's on the wrong side of the map for it, so not exactly the pace Sector 1 wanted.
It's going to be a while. I think Sector 1 still have a window, but as we said before, as you mentioned, as expertly as ever, Dan, if we give K1ck the time to scale, they have 3 great scaling elements on their team, and Sector 1 are the ones who need to punish here. As the ultimate gets used for the third time, Conqueror gets procced. And Phoenix really having a rough time here in this top lane. Ibo not really impressed by what the Wukong are showing him, as that should be fine. You know, that's actually a cute play there. You can use your clone to remove one of the branches.
Yeah, block it out for you, but ultimately he's low enough in HP that he just can't walk up on Ibo. The Maokai doing a ton of damage in these matchups. And we do see the swap coming in from K1ck, so moving the bot lane towards this Herald. They are straight skipping the Dragon priority. And you see on the other side, Sector 1, they're moving their bot lane through mid because they want to potentially spot out a play like this, but they're going to be too late. Herald's going to likely already be gone. and they can trade off for the dragon, but when you're trying to set the pace of the game, when you're trying to accelerate, Herald is a critical objective for that, and to lose out in the first one is a pretty big hit, and I think a large part of it was Phoenix struggling in the top lane.
And dibu on the Elise, he has been one of the most consistent playmakers for Sector 1, and if he doesn't get the ball rolling, it's going to be a lot harder, as now we have a duo side on top lane, and I think that first turbo is just going to be gone, and Kick are looking to get an early lead here, even bigger than they currently have, because we're approaching 9 minutes, and they're still very far ahead. Bulwark not optimally procced here, but Sector 1 are just going to fall for the turret regardless. Don't want to get into this 2v3, and that means that they will be picking up a Drake here. dibu can solo that, but you give up a first turret blood, and are now at a sizable goal deficit with a team composition that, as we managed, needs to kind of get ahead in the early game, which Sector 1 currently is not doing.
Yeah, this is the opposite trade that Sector 1 wants. Sector 1 want the Herald into the top lane First Blood Tower and say, okay, Kick, you can have a dragon. This is a trade that we expected, but in the other side. We saw Sector 1 applying that pressure early, having the early skirmishing, and yet they haven't found the success. And Kick, if they win early with that composition, things will really go in their favor.
So what you're saying is Banlux is going to fail to deliver? Yet again, that is, are you breaking my heart here?
I'm not calling it yet.
Is that what's happening, Dan?
It's a rough start. There's a critical factor, okay? And I want you to do a favor for me. Can you count how many Wukongs each team has?
Well, one team has one Wukong, and the other team has no Wukong. I've seen Aphelios as well.
True. But we also have a Ziggs, so you know. Yeah. But it's in Wukong's Sector 1 is winning, and actually, if he uses his clone, they'll have two.
There's actually 2 Wukongs against 0.
Very favorable overall.
Okay, I hadn't really thought about that. That's why you're the colorcaster, and I'm.
There you go. That's how I like to think about things: is who has the more Wukongs. And right now, Sector 1 are winning in that regard, despite being down in gold by 2,000 and down that tower. There's still an avenue to come back in this game. They're still up in farm in their mid and AD. They just need Phoenix to sort of cut down the bleed and pick up some farm, get to the point where he's got items and he's relevant in terms of his damage. Because right now, Ibo on the Sunfire Cape is pretty formidable. That can be a little bit concerning. If you're in a mid-game team fight and this Maokai is tanking up so much, it gives Matislaw and Puki Style space to just apply damage down.
I can imagine a double Blade the Rune King that looks to be coming out from Sector 1 is going to alleviate that somewhat until the later point, as dibu sidesteps the Q that doesn't get spotted but misses the cocoon. And you know what you don't want to see, Dan, if you're a Banlux fan, is a 0-0-0 Elise at 11 minutes.
Yeah, definitely not. To try to find pressure bot lane, but just couldn't deliver. And honestly, credit to Raxxo and Puki Style who've just absorbed that pressure well. The summoners that they lost before are back up, and Engage coming in.
And there they go, very deep. We see the Glacial Fissure being used, teleport, getting channeled. The Phoenix is already there. There is the Monkey coming in big. And Puki Style will go down eventually. Second, the activation there as the Mega Inferno Bomb does not find enough damage. Fate School used defensively, but Saviour is going in for the re-engage. Stands behind Braum. And there is the Emperor's Divide. The kill gets found, and now Knight is roaming as well, but it's 4 against 3. And 2 of those 3 from Sector 1 are not looking great. Knight now here as well, but the roam didn't come out. That teleport not used by Knight, whereas it was used by Matislaw. And it is Kick yet again who find the favorable trade here.
Yeah, this was a fight that was opted into by Sector 1. They started it off, and yet they still end up losing out. Yes, they killed Puki Style, but they're not able to do anything about Matislaw. Ibo is still too tanky to deal with, and the end result is a lost team fight and lost plates in the bot lane. And critically, because Knight walked down, he didn't actually get anything mid lane. This is a Ziggs we're talking about who has great tower taking potential, could easily pick up a plate or 2 if he's left alone with it. He doesn't TP down, he simply walks. Not only is he too late for the fight, but he doesn't get anything mid lane. And Kick just win across the board. 3,000 gold up now, feeling really confident. And yeah, you talked about it before, the double Blade Rune King spike will be nice, but ultimately if you're behind in items and this Maokai is starting to stack up more and more armor, it may not end up being relevant.
Also looking at dibu here, who has not yet had an impact on the Elise here. Was prioritized early, and early Elise prioritization is always a risk because it is a champion that is notoriously reliant on getting ahead if you want to remain relevant in terms of damage. Otherwise, you just turn into a cocoon bot. The Sector 1, it's not all doom and gloom. As we saw there, I feel like in teamfights, there's still the potential to immediately delete Puki Style from a fight, or at least make him irrelevant. But then you still need to deal with Matislaw and Ibo already at this point a big nuisance. As we see there, Pierce being used, but Practice can't actually find anyone hops forward. So what are the alternative win conditions here for Sector 1? These skirmishes thus far not going great. They do have TV advantage now, and in 30 seconds, Ocean Drake spawns.
There will come a point in the side lane where Phoenix could potentially challenge the Maokai and kill him. Because he's behind in gold right now, it's going to be a long time, but that is a potential win condition. And I think as much as I said that K1ck have the scaling advantage, if you kill these carries, because K1ck have a 2-carry composition, it's just the Azir, it's just the Aphelios. If they die, you can still win team fights, but you get team fights, one coming in.
Moonlight Vigil being used offensively. Practice there goes low. Fate Score used here, but look at that kick coming back in. Saviour now trying to keep his carry alive. Twisted Advance there. Nature's Grasp used. And Saviour and Practice both go down. dibu trying his best to stay alive. It goes back in, but look at the tankiness on that Maokai. He's not afraid. The Sect Activation gets Phoenix a kill, but now he's on his own against Lee Sin and against an Azir, and that's not going great. And K1ck are just looking to kick Sector 1 out of the game. After a devastating loss to We Love Gaming, they are looking to take their spot as a favorite here. 15-minute mark, a 5k gold lead with a composition that skills like this is not good for Sector 1.
Absolutely isn't. It's all Shlatan. Looking at him on the Elise in 402, a massive amount of kill participation, and you saw that beautiful kick on a Practice when he had Saviour locked up as well. Force that kill, and it's just this Lee Sin is finding the opportunities and allowing his team to follow up. Sector 1, we talked about their skirmishing power. It's just not manifesting. They're now 5,000 gold down, and really those win conditions we talked about, the Elise strength early, the Kalista Braum, even the Wukong, it's going to take such a long time before these champions are relevant, and at that point they will be outscaled. So really, it's a rough spot for Sector 1. It's not over. They're definitely going to have to look to punish Puki style and Matislaw, maybe find numbers advantage. If they want to challenge things now, that's a critical factor. Now, they did pick up the Herald, so that's a nice takeaway in this scenario.
As we
Looks
do
like they might get
that on dibu, I think he's just going to get sacrificed. A kill for a Herald as he does find the Scryer's Orbs, but has that not put Sector 1 in an awkward position? Nice Satchel Charge. The Emperor's Divide, and that's Knight immediately flashing over the wall. Does get fined by Shlatan. Yet again, that's a double kill. As Saviour and Practice just try to get away, and Sector 1's unbroken streak of 16 games looking to come to an end here, as they are very far behind. 6k gold here at 16 minutes with a composition that can't really afford to not be ahead. And that means that they have to find a miracle to get a reliable game against K1ck here, because K1ck looking a lot more like they seem to expect it's coming into this tournament.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just Shlatan. It's all Shlatan. We saw 2 high early pressure junglers. We saw them try and impact the map, and it is the Lee Sin who has won out. K1ck doing a great job right now. And as much as Sector 1 aren't even trying to opt into it, they weren't saying, hey, let's fight them, even though we're behind. They just wanted to get the Herald and get out, and they get punished for it massively. All of K1ck managed to collapse. They managed to pick up several kills. And this is just the situation where whenever Sector 1 tries to take something, they've been punished for it massively.
And then my question to you is, K1ck look amazing here. They have a great front-to-back teamfight composition. Double teleport almost up. They have a one-on-one on dragons. They're ahead on turrets. They're very far ahead on gold against composition that wants to skirmish. What do Sector 1 need to do to get back into this game? Because with compositions like this, with the Kalista, the Elise, it's not looking good at the moment.
Well, the critical aspect is that you have a ton of wave clear, but I'll hold that thought for a second because K1ck are looking for a fight again.
Yeah, and dibu and Phoenix both get rooted, and I don't think it's a 2v2 that's ever going to go well for you. As,
it's not even a 2v2.
And there's the flank as well. Puki style and Raxxo also there. Another kill here for Shlatan, who does not want to let Sector 1 do absolutely anything on the map. A greedy play there by Sector 1, trying to get some value out of Shelly. And it just backfires immensely, as now we see the top half, dibu and Phoenix, having such a rough game here.
Yeah, and I was going to say that if you find a numbers advantage, or if you just avoid Shlatan essentially with him being so strong, I mean, you have the wave clear from the Ziggs, but right now, this discrepancy with the tankiness of Ibo and the engaged potential from Raxxo and Shlatan, I just feel like they're just going to keep pushing. You're not going to find any windows, and it's once again, every single time Sector 1 look for a play, K1ck are there to kick them in the teeth, in all honesty, and answer pretty heavily in return.
I see one way in which Sector 1 come back in this game, as the gold lead now grown to a solid 7k. And that is overextension, like we saw in the previous game between with Vipers, even though that was not enough to win in the game. Just overextend into a Ziggs Braum and try to make something work from there, because otherwise it looks like K1ck is having full control over this game. They're not like a Sector 1 get away with any objectives, not letting them get away with any sneaky turrets.
I mean, I think that
one item.
That last little turn of play there, I think, was telling of how scared Sector 1 are, because we see K1ck walking through a choke point, Puki style walking through a choke point, and then he gets hit by a cocoon. You have Knight in range with his ultimate, and they don't go for it. And I'm not saying it would have been a successful play, but I think K1ck walking through there was risky. And yet Sector 1 don't punish because they are so far behind and so afraid. It is really not looking good for them right now. And the problem is, like, as it gets late in the game, they might be able to claw back this gold lead. The gold lead is going to be less relevant when there's more items, because honestly, 7,090 minutes is very significant. But he's just going to see these champions, the Azir and the Aphelios, spike even more and more.
Oh, dibu. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, dibu. I mean, flash for Scuttle, is that why you type worth in all chat?
Oh, engage coming in.
And there we go, hard engage on Puki style. Everything's get used to take down the Aphelios, but is there a re-engage coming through here? Cocoon from dibu says no. The Saviour's trying to sidestep, still moving forward very aggressively as Ibo and Phoenix are 1v1ing. Phoenix now does have the Bladed Rune King. Ibo actually getting taken lower in this extended trade, and Sector 1 looked to find a team fight. We didn't think they could. Phoenix will take a low, but don't get pranked. It's just a clone. Gets too aggressive though. And gets shuffled into the turret. The second reactivation can't save you there, Phoenix. As Sector 1 at least find a glimmer of hope there, as this might open the Drake. But K1ck still alive and kicking.
Coming in.
And iBoy now has been alive long enough to come back with a great teleport flank, and that's more than enough. Now Practice finds one kill. Can he stand away long enough? No.
Got two.
Because that's point and click. CC does find another one, and that's some much needed gold on the Kalista. But it was K1ck getting the better of this after a great re-engage from iBoy there.
I mean, the re-engage was great, but there was two massive shutdowns from K1ck just went in the Kalista's pockets. Practice just recalled, well, didn't recall, died, but he's just picked up a full Runans. That's how much money he got from that.
Nowhere.
Yeah, he had no components for it, and I really felt like it was hard to see Sector 1 come back into it, but they found a great pick on a Puki style, and as much as the rest of the fight was a little bit messy, they managed to get back into it. And look at the gold. Think how fed Shlatan was at 8-1. He's only 500 gold up on Practice now. Practice has more gold than Puki style.
And Practice has been a win condition. Here we go, another re-engage. Matislaw goes in with the teleport. Phoenix, maybe a bit overzealous here, gets taken really low, uses the clone to try and stay away. dibu there gets shuffled back in, and Sector 1, you can't afford these mistakes if you want to stay in this game with how it's looking thus far. And K1ck find the punish. And Sector 1 yet again proving themselves over eager as they try and contest for a Mountain Drake.
And that's the big thing for me. So that great pick they got into Puki style, and then they follow up with that play, which was less great. And it sort of makes me...
It was not amazing, huh?
Yeah, it makes me think, are they picking these great windows to find plays, or are they just throwing everything at K1ck and hoping something sticks? And I think it might be the second one, but right now, K1ck setting up for this Baron Azir, great at taking this. No jungler to
steal the Baron. It's okay, Sector 1. That's all you need to do. Steal the Baron as the teleport comes in. Phoenix now making his way. Baron is very low. Saviour goes in there. The Baron will be picked up indubitably here as Elise finds the smite. Phoenix there on his own in that enemy team, but can Practice do the damage that is necessary. dibu just now joining. And Sector 1, while the Moonlight Vigil doesn't in the Practice is kiting away to his heart's extent. It's not nearly enough. And there will be a double kill picked up there. The Mega Inferno Bomb does absolutely nothing. Knight does dodge the Sonic Wave, but indubitably he will get taken down as well as we see him try and run away. Shlatan has his number as we see the Ziggs sidestep again with a nice flash and satchel charge. Didn't expect him to make it out. Does it actually change anything? Not particularly.
No, not at all in that situation, and it was a nice attempt from Sector 1, but they were too split in that scenario. Practice did his best, but is unable to find the damage. And K1ck, I mean, a triple kill for the Nautilus is a pretty interesting one, but the end result...
That's not great.
Well, either way, they're still massively ahead in gold.
It doesn't. And,
hey, allows him to get... Look at his items. He's got a stone plate up on the Braum, and Matislaw looking for Knight. Won't be able to find anything, but, he's definitely looking a little bit rough. And as we talked about Practice being not too far behind in gold, you now see Style almost caught up, but Matislaw, Shlatan, and Ibo still ahead, still extremely strong, and 2-7 from Phoenix. So, give me a word, Chronicler. One word to describe this performance from Phoenix.
Subpar.
That's what I was looking for. I was personally thinking suboptimal, but
Yes,
I
yes.
very much think subpar.
Actually, I think that's the preferable the two sub words. Yeah.
What about
it's not
submarine?
great.
Yes.
Actually, imagine if they had a Shen support here. You could go for the good old submarine, but that's not what
Exactly.
Sector 1 did. Maybe that was the play they all needed. As there comes Nature's Grasp. Move forward. Doesn't actually find anything, but just a poke will be enough as the waves crash into the base of Sector 1. It's an all or nothing team fight, but it's looking more like nothing here. 24 minutes on the clock. A big 10k gold lead here for K1ck with a composition like this, with an Azir and Aphelios. It's looking extremely dire for the Belgian League representatives, and they might be taking the first loss that they have taken in a very long time, as Fate's Call does get channeled there, and we do throw in Saviour. I'm not sure if that's what you want to do. Glacial Fisher finds some damage as Phoenix goes in deep, but is immediately taken down. Tries to ult away, but it's not enough. Praxis gets dragged into the rest of the team. And surely that's going to be it here for Sector 1 versus K1ck. It's going to be a 2-1 for both of these teams as K1ck takes back their position on top. And Sector 1 finds the first incubative in a very long time, kind of to be expected of the new Masters, although there is no wave at the moment. So I guess they will live
wave
for
mid, though.
a little bit longer.
Yeah, there's a wave mid, so I'll go for that one.
Yeah.
I think they'll probably reset after this inhibitor. Don't want to overstay and risk things when they're so far ahead.
Just keep going. Just end the game. Hawks, just end the game. I've seen this scoreline before in the last game.
True.
It was a similar goal lead as well.
It's not an Aphelios though on the side of Sector 1.
There's no 200 years of...
You need a recently released or reworked champion. I mean,
but
they have
Wukong.
They have Wukong, but
he's 2-8.
the Wukong's had a very submarine performance this game. And if you're wondering what I mean by a submarine performance, I mean that he sank.
and then the question for me is, can Phoenix then, like float back up like a submarine, kind of submarine that goes down and then just disappears, never to be heard from again?
We'll see.
I'm not feeling good about this submarine's chances, if I'm honest, especially when I see the Nautilus coming up topside as well. Oh, Phoenix. Oh, no. Oh, that's cheeky. Empress Defiant means that he won't actually get anything out of this play. Mega Inferno Bubble comes through, and there goes Phoenix. He's running for the hills, but Shlatan gets him on the second reactivation. 2-9 now for the top laner of Sector 1. I've casted a lot of Phoenix as Knight is indeed going to get taken down here as well. There is the flash. That's the end of the Ziggs, and that's probably the end of the game as well, as the wave clear is now gone. And no, Nesha doesn't matter if there's no way to save the kid as waves. But Phoenix, he's been called inconsistent a lot, and we had not seen the time of him for a long time. And it's come back.
Better to be called inconsistent than just bad all the time. But see,
that's a positive way of looking at it. I like that Sector 1 is running for the hills. The spider crawls back to its web. But surely this is going to be... Although a lot of Ren stacks are being built up, Praxis doesn't find the kill, though. And Sector 1 actually holds on here because K1ck isn't actually destroying the turret. The submarine goes in, but doesn't actually find anything. The 9-1 Lisa proving too strong here as the Blind Monk dives in on the Monkey. That's going to be the end of it. Nexus turret falls. A last Hail Mary maybe if a Sector 1 Knight comes up in a couple of seconds. Is that Mega Inferno Bomb? Does do a lot of damage. Sector 1, can you save the Nexus? Ibo's tanking a lot. The inhibitor goes down. 3 inhibitors now gone. And I think this is going to be it, but I don't want to call it too early. There they go. It's going to be K1ck taking back their positions as favorite. A dominating game after what is definitely a mediocre game in their second performance against We Love Gaming. And Sector 1, I don't think we're going to see that Wukong again.
No, I don't think so. Didn't quite work out for them. They tried.
It was suboptimal. It was subpar.
Submarine. It was submarine, and that's what we're going with. But I think it was a really strong performance from Shlatan in particular. He was just monstrous on this Elise everywhere he needed to be. But I think it's not just that, it's the fact that we saw Sector 1 with a plan. Apply that early pressure, try and get advantages, and they were just never given that opportunity to do so. When a little bit of maybe a disrespectful draft from K1ck to go for so much scaling, but they made it work.
Yeah, they do. And that's, as you were saying, that's the real big part for me, is that K1ck knows what Sector wants to do. Like the level 3 Elise dive on bot lane just doesn't allow for it. There's no opportunity. And Sector 1 is unable to find the skirmishes. K1ck takes a deserved win. We're going to take a short break, and then we'll be back with yet another game. The desk is going to surely have a lot to say about that one, and I can't wait till I see you again. And with you, I'm referring to the viewer, but also to you, Dan, specifically. So short break, and then we'll be back.